the Rams, congratulations. I saw it coming last night. It was more of a sense of gloom and doom that the Rams getting Cooper Kupp back, getting Puka Nacua back, better than their record suggests. They get the win. They go to 3-4, and we're going to talk about that over the course of the next half hour or so and then get you ready for Week 8. He's Rodney Harrison. I'm Mike Florio. Rodney, good morning. Good to see you again.
Good morning. And think about this, Mike. When I was watching the game last night, think about how Sean McVay had his team prepared. I mean, you talk about the offense, they were prepared, they were ready for that blitz. And you talk about defensively, what they did in the second half, sacking Matthews, just putting pressure on them. I felt like they did. The defense really took this team to the next level.
Oh, you're right. And look, all those exotic things the Vikings were doing earlier in the season, you don't know where the pressure's coming from. The walls close in before the quarterback can find the opening. That's not working currently. And it was an embattled and injured Rams offensive line that basically neutralized the Minnesota pass rush last night. You're not talking about a mobile quarterback in Matthew Stafford. He had time. When he starts pump faking, you know after the pump fake, he's going to find a guy wide open. And it was over and over again all night long. When he would throw that ball, there was a silent confidence in just the way that he threw it. That's one of the things I love about watching football on TV, because you can't see the open guy down the field. But sometimes just in the way that the quarterback moves, you know he's got somebody. And he can still sling it. And now the Rams, last night, that combination of offensive and defensive line and the throwing of Matthew Stafford and the catching of Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua, 4 touchdown passes for Stafford. He had 3 all year long coming into the game. He had 4 last night. It gets the Rams to 3-4. And, you know, there was talk all week about trading Cooper Kupp. Why the hell are you going to trade anybody when you're tied with the 49ers at 3-4, who you've beaten, and you're tied with the Cardinals at 3-4?
The Rams did an excellent job early in the game, really establishing, hey, if you're going to blitz us, we're going to get the ball out quick. We're going to get it to Puka Nacua. We're going to force you to tackle these big wide receivers in open space. And I really felt like it really neutralized the Minnesota Vikings pass rush. I mean, these guys, and I've always said this, I say this to Coach Dungy every single week. I say, Coach, the blitzing is fine, but eventually the offenses figure it out. You can get rid of the ball quick, the wide receiver screens, but you also have to be able to run the football downhill. And once you start running the football downhill, if you're not precise on your blitz responsibility, now all of a sudden there's a gap in the run game, there's an opening in the pass game, and it creates a lot of big plays. You think about this defense, this defense was just, I just thought it was terrific, bro.
Oh, and Jared Verse, rookie pass rusher that they picked up in the draft this year, he was dominant at times. And, of course, it helped that he didn't have to face Christian Darrisaw, who got injured in garbage time of the first half. All they should have done was taken a knee. They're pinned in their own 5. Just get out of there. And you know, an injury like that can happen on any play. A guy falls on the back of someone's leg. It's amazing it doesn't happen more often with all those bodies and torsos and limbs flying around in that trash of the offensive and defensive line once they start pushing on each other. But that was just an unforced error. That was an avoidable injury because there shouldn't have even been a real play happening in that spot. Darrisaw, they're waiting for from the Viking standpoint and everyone's standpoint, you want good news on potentially injured players. So it didn't look good at the time. Walked off the field. They were checking the stability of the knee. You worry about the ACL in a situation like that. And we'll see if they lose him. If they lose him, they got a problem. And they look, it's been a rough week. Lions, hard-fought game on Sunday. They lose. And now teams that lose to the Lions are 0-5 in their next game. And you got to recover on a short week. You got to fly to L.A. I saw all the ingredients in this one. I saw the planets lining up. And we had a little shootout at first, and then it settled down. But in the second half, that's when all these things you're talking about really came to fruition. You can't get to Stafford. You can't keep the heat off of Darnold. You're not going to outscore the Rams if that's the case.
I look at the Vikings offensively early in the game when that first series, they got Justin Jefferson involved. They started spreading the ball around, and all of a sudden, it's just like, what happened? You know, it's just like this offense kind of stalled. And when you have Justin Jefferson, he's the main guy. He's getting all the passes. And then everybody else is, you know, at the end of the game, they got 1 catch, 2 catches. He has 8 catches. I mean, it's a big margin. And I felt like early that the Rams was giving him too much space. I'm like, come on, Rams, play a little bit more aggressive, challenge this guy. And then I don't know what happened in the second half, but overall, this Rams defense was outstanding. I mean, you talk about the absence of Aaron Donald and these young guys really coming together. You talk about Jared Verse, a guy that's played really well this year. He's had some problems sustaining the edge at times. That's one thing that he definitely needs to work on. But Braden Fisk, this secondary, you talk about Quentin Lake and his leadership at the safety position, him playing nickel, him playing safety. Sean McVay is an unbelievable coach. And I saw it against the Raiders when he had to go with guys that you didn't even really know their name. Demarcus Robinson, he came back. He had 2 touchdowns yesterday. I just think that Sean McVay, he is the reason. He had this team ready to go both on offense and defense, and they were flying around. It was really good to see.
And when you get that Sunday to Thursday turnaround, you get an opportunity to pick up 2 wins in a short period of time. And if you're 1-4, just like that, you're 3-4 and you're in the thick of things. Here's Sean McVay after the game on the confidence the Rams now have after winning 2 in a row.
I believe in this group, Sam. I believe in the coaches. I believe in the players. I saw a resolve. I didn't see a flinch. And we still have a long way to go. You know, we've won 2 games in 5 days, but it's just 2 games. And we've done a good job of getting ourselves back to where we wanted to be. And, found a way to win last week, really led by the defense. And then found a way to have a good team win. I'm excited about this journey ahead. And, we've learned a lot about people in these first 7 weeks. We've had to go through a lot of different things relative to new faces playing that maybe we didn't expect. And then it's great to be able to get some of the cavalry back. And I think we'll start to see that over the next couple weeks. And we got to be able to hit the ground running. And we got a great challenge, next week.
Cooper Kupp was back and had a touchdown catch last night. And again, there had been increasing chatter that Kupp could be traded or would be traded, and maybe if they had lost last night, he would have been traded. I thought it was kind of weird that you would play the guy if you're going to trade him. You don't need to showcase him. Everybody knows what he can do, and maybe that in and of itself tells us they're not thinking about it. After the game, McVay said teams reached out about Kupp. Some of the things I've seen out there, they're just not true. We've addressed that with those individuals. Teams have called about him, and we let him know what the dialogue was there. And then there's a lot of stuff out there where there's just not a lot of accountability to the reports, and that's unfortunate. Now, look, I'll push back on that and say the Rams are masters of leaking stuff and creating a trade market. Whenever you hear that multiple teams are calling about a player, that's likely coming from the team that has the player on its roster. If you're trying to get the player, you have no reason to leak that, hey, they might trade this guy, because you don't want other teams to join the party. You want to get it done before anybody realizes what's going on. Just like the Rams got it done when they traded for Matthew Stafford before anybody else knew what was going on. You think the Rams were going to leak that the Lions might trade Matthew Stafford? Hell no. Because then teams like Washington would have said, well, Matthew Stafford's available. Let's get in on this, and the price goes up. So I push back on the idea that there's erroneous reporting. The Rams tried to shake the tree and see what would fall out. And maybe they didn't hear anything they liked. And meanwhile, they won 2 games. And now it's like, oh, maybe we don't want to trade this guy. Maybe we got a chance to have a good season.
Well, I look at Cooper Kupp as a guy that you definitely have to consider based off of all the injuries, based on the big salary that he makes coming up. I mean, you have to consider it, Mike. And this is a guy that he's a heck of a football player. But I think when you watch him play, you can tell he's not the same Cooper Kupp that we're used to seeing, the same Cooper Kupp that led, in yards and catches, et cetera, et cetera. He's just not the same guy. And you start looking at Puka Nacua compared to Cooper Kupp and how they play and how fast they play. And it's a difference. You can see the youth. You can see the athleticism. You can see just the movement. So when I look at Cooper Kupp, man, I mean, this is something realistic. I think they played him because it was a desperate situation. They felt like they had to win. But if they lose that game, I think he's definitely on the trading blocks. But now you just keep him, man. I mean, and he brought some energy. Puka Nacua brought energy. It brings confidence to your quarterback, to your starting quarterback and your offensive line. When you have those guys, you can get rid of the ball quick. You can implement the run game. So right now, I just think that Sean McVay is doing a heck of a job keeping his team into it, because these guys could have quit. They could have easily said, you know what, hey, we're not going to win. We lost Aaron Donald. We got all these injuries on the offensive line. We're playing all these young guys, but these guys continue to fight. And I got to give them a lot of props, man, for what they've accomplished the last couple of weeks.
Teams get better on the fly. Teams get worse on the fly. The Rams barely lost in overtime to start the season to the Lions. You were there for that game at Ford Field, the Week 1 Sunday nighter. Then they get blown out by the Cardinals 41-10, but they beat the 49ers, lost a close one to the Bears, lost a close one to the Packers, and, yeah, boom, win a close one to the Raiders, who, I mean, the Raiders aren't very good right now, but last night's the kind of signature win that can propel you forward. At Seattle, the team that's currently in first place in the division, only one game ahead of you. That could be a game that the Rams steal, get to 4-4. Then they're at the Dolphins and the Patriots and the Eagles. I mean, they've got some games coming up where they could stack some wins together and they could be a factor, but they've gotten better and they've gotten healthy. That's the key. They've had injury issues really since training camp. Nacua got injured in camp. He had that knee problem. Kupp got injured week 2. They finally get them both on the field, and you look how much better the offense is when they are. And along the way, Matthew Stafford passed Dan Marino for most completions in a career. Stafford's had that kind of quiet, just racking up yards and completions and touchdowns. And when he's done, whenever that might be, he's going to be up there among the all-time greats. And he deserves that recognition. He was a guy that, Rodney,
is he a Hall of Famer? Is he a Hall of Famer, Mike?
Yeah, he's got the Super Bowl win. I think he is.
Let me ask you this. Is he a Hall of Famer? I just want to ask you a question. Is he a Hall of Famer without the Super Bowl ring?
I think it would be a hard sell without the Super Bowl ring. With the Super Bowl ring, he gets in. Now, Dan Fouts got in without a ring. Dan Marino got in without a ring. Fran Tarkenton got in without a ring. But, you know, in this era of a lot of passing the ball and you're going to have inflated numbers, he's still going to finish pretty high up on the – and we don't know how much longer he's got left. And he's a guy that I thought they should consider trading. If you're going to trade Cooper Kupp, it's felt like a year-to-year vibe for the Rams and Stafford anyway. There was some contract discontent from him in the offseason. When they finally fixed it, it really wasn't all that much better. I'm thinking this might be it for him there anyway. I thought, hey, if you're going to start trading guys, trade him. But after last night, trade nobody. Keep riding this thing. Let's see where it goes. Maybe you took some phone calls. Maybe you had some conversations. But now you're back in the thick of things, and you see how this plays out. And, look, they got one more game before the trade deadline, too. Like, if they go to Seattle and get blown out and fall to 3-5, I don't know. They still got 2 days after that to do something. But where they are right now, I wouldn't make a move.
No, I mean, they're competitive. This is a good football team. And you saw the energy of Sean McVay. You saw the energy of this entire team change when they start getting some of their guys back. And you figure in the next week or so, they're going to start getting even more offensive linemen back. So now you get those veterans back. You add them in, those young guys that had to play. They've have experience now. And you continue to build depth. But that's what they're doing. And you know what? It's the right move. And I like what Sean McVay has done. I mean, he's come out and he's talking about his team. The defense, to me, that's been the key. Because Aaron Donald, everybody made a big fuss about Aaron Donald. How are you going to get pass rush? And these guys, when you look at them individually, these guys can play. But now they're starting to come together. They're starting to believe in the system and understand the defensive system. And those guys back there, man, they're starting to make plays. Tre'Davious White wasn't back there. Those are good players back there. They don't have the big names, but they're back there fighting. I like what I saw from them.
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.